What's the answer? Oh my gosh. Is it possible? Is there any possibility in the entire universe? Is it possible that just feeling good could solve all the problems? Is that possible? Most people would say no. Most people would say, get your head out of the sand, Pollyanna. Feeling good is, a pastime. You don't get to do that. That's recreational. But I am here to tell you that I vehemently disagree with that. Feeling good, number one, is the absence of feeling bad. Do you know, I'm sure you do know, but I'm going to tell you anyway, that it's impossible, biologically, physiologically impossible for you to experience negative feelings and positive feelings at the same time. Why? Because feelings are a biochemical reaction, response to thinking, to what we're thinking. A thought is an electrical process. Two synapses hook up together, fire and wire together from Hebb's law, and it causes a counter reaction in our chemistry. We cannot feel the happy hormones of stress. We cannot feel the happy hormones of serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin while we're feeling cortisol and adrenaline. It doesn't work. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas at the same time. Like, it doesn't work. It's not like you're going to do anything to ruin anything except for your health if you entertain stress too much, but it doesn't have any effect. And yet most of us are going around thinking that I'm going to be positive, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be joyful. But in the back of our minds, we look at our bank account and we're like, ugh. Or we walk out the door and people start bothering us and telling us you can't have that, and you need to do this, and this bill's late, and this client is firing you, and blah, 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 blah. So that fake happy that you put on is immediately counteracted. Does that make sense? And how far do we get with both feet on both pedals? Both feet on both pedals. And you know how it is. Every now and then you'll put a little bit harder on the gas, and so you'll go a little bit, and then here comes the brake, and then you stop. And it goes back and forth like that. I want you to really think of that analogy. I speak all the time and I write all the time in analogies because I think it really gives us a more clear picture than talking about quarks in the quantum field and what a vector is multiplied by the equation of the string theory, right? That's like, what? Your body is biochemical. You can't change that. It's just what it is. And that chemistry that you are responsible for has everything to do with how you feel. In part 2 of this video, I'm going to talk more not metaphorically, metaphysically about why it's so important to feel good. But in this first video, I want to talk about the physiology of it, the biology of it. We think something happens in our external environment, and we think that thing caused us to get upset or angry or frustrated or mad. And then over time, that anger, that guilt, that frustration, that sadness kind of turned into a mood. We just kind of are always like that now. And that becomes a baseline frequency for us. And we can go back and we can say, yeah, I've been in a bad mood ever since my husband and I got divorced. Really? So let's analyze it from that point. Something happened in your external event. You're looking at something that's going on that you don't like, that made you feel bad. Stop right there. Gosh, if I had the sound effects that went, like, push the brake on that one. Nothing that happened out there made you feel bad. I know that's a hard truth. I know people don't want to hear that. I never like to hear it myself. And it's still true for me sometimes too. But let's get real here. No one can control the chemical responses in your brain but you. And you can say, yeah, but when I looked at my computer screen and I saw my bank balance, I gasped. I felt it in my gut. That made me feel that way. Really? What really made it feel that way? What really made it feel that way is your response to external stimuli. Your response to the external stimuli. And not coincidentally, this is how those negative beliefs and how that response began in the first place. When you were young, and I've talked about this in numerous videos and books, when you were younger, from age, even pre-birth, because what we know about epigenetics now. So let's just say, when you were 4 or 5 years old, you tried to get your mom's attention and she was in the middle of doing something and she was having a really, really bad day or maybe a really, really bad life, and she smacked you. And it wasn't like, well, I don't want to say it wasn't abusive, because back when I was growing up, it wasn't that big of a deal to get smacked in the head. But you know what? Now I know that it was, but I didn't know that then. The point being that the combination of the physical pain and the shame or the guilt or the shock that went with that, something that she totally forgot, because it was just like she was just pushing you away. But to you, it felt like a physical, a shock. Your brain took that experience and filed it into the "we are not safe right now" file cabinet. And then as you got older and more things happened that your brain interpreted to mean "we are not safe," let's put that experience in this file cabinet. Now, this file cabinet is busted at the seams. Like, it does not have cloud storage. It is like over full. So now, when you're just minding your own business, being all grown up and mature, driving a car and everything, and someone says something to you, and you get a trigger, you go from 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds. What really happened is that file cabinet got shook up. And your brain's like, okay, we are so full, we cannot fit any more experiences in here. You are not safe. This is bad. And it happens within a nanosecond. The stimulus outside of you, and then the physical and chemical reaction. It happens that quick. And you're like, ugh. Well, they did that to me. They said that. It's not about them. This is the biggest thing. It's the biggest thing. And it took me the longest time to learn. And I want whoever is open to this to get it way before I did. And it is this: nothing outside of you makes you feel the way you feel inside. In fact, the way you feel inside is most likely from feelings that you had a long time ago that have been piling up and piling up and piling up, to now all you have to do is get the smallest trigger and you're like Godzilla. Like, ah. So that is the first thing that we need to understand, and why our emotions and our feelings are really controlling our lives, because we are so super reactive and we're blaming it on the outside stimulus. And what we have to really get is that the stimulus that happens, there's always a space. And I think, I believe it was Viktor Frankl in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, beautiful book. I think it was in that book that he said, between the stimulus and the response, there's a space. Now, we know biologically that is not a true statement. Why do I say that? Because the stimulus happens, your unconscious has picked it up, and your chemistry is already in action. So there is no space in that sense. But what Frankl meant, and what I'm sharing with you, is there is a space between your reaction. So this happens, this person makes you mad. Your body already just went off. 5-alarm fire in here. It's like, whoo! But the way you respond physically, behaviorally, socially, vocally, verbally, whatever, there's a space between that. So step one is embracing that space. That's the first thing. We don't need to yell. We don't need to send nasty emails. We don't need to get on Facebook and make comments. We don't need to do anything to attack the outside circumstances that made us feel bad. Nobody gets to make you feel bad. Only you. You are in charge of that. That is your job. So once we get that, let's cut everything externally out. Let's quit blaming everything outside of us for what's going on inside of us. That is the first thing. We're going to stop it. Okay? The second thing is to manage, because we already know that when that happened, even though you handled it now like a pro, we got this going on. This is like Storm City in here. Tornado Central. Like, hurricane. Hurricane Hilda. So the second thing that is just critical is that we calm ourselves. We ground ourselves. We breathe it out. Maybe you scream in a pillow. Maybe you do EFT. Maybe you go stand outside and hug a freaking tree as hard as you can. I have done that. I've hugged a tree. I have a huge redwoods in my backyard. I have hugged them sometimes so hard that I had red stripes on my arm. But you get it out. Because if you just say, oh, let me just go eat some ice cream or take a couple shots of vodka or whatever it is, it's staying in there. That file cabinet is still bursting at the seams. Those triggers, those things that made you feel bad, are your beautiful opportunities. They are your triggers, are your treasures. They're your beautiful opportunities to say, oh, there's something there. That file cabinet needs to be cleared out. So get the energy of the stress out of you. You know, do whatever you need to do within reason and nothing, that's dangerous. But maybe do some yoga poses, maybe scream in a pillow, like I said. Whatever you need to do, get it out of your body. Got to get it out of your body. And then get centered. I'm not being woo-woo. You've got to get centered. You've got to get centered. That's like what I tell my clients, it's plugging in. You've got to be here, because if you're plugged into all that stuff out there, you're going to be in reaction mode. And you cannot create or manifest the things you want in reaction mode. Okay? So, number one, not blaming anything going on around us for how we feel inside. That is the most liberating, freeing, mandatory step to manifestation. Nothing outside of you gets to be in charge of inside of you. Okay? And then when it does, and you feel the flare-offs go in here, find a way to release it. I'm not saying cover it up and hide it. Release it. Don't suppress it. The reason that you're so reactive to things that happen around you is because you've spent a lifetime stuffing it. Open that file cabinet. Just let it out. Start getting it out. And after you've done that and you feel complete, and it may take 6 months, it may take 10 years, but as long as you're clearing it out as we're working on your manifestation, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Time is an illusion anyway. Truly, it's an illusion. Okay? So that is part one. I'll be back at you with part two, and we'll get a little more into the quantum field. Thanks for watching.